Mastering music, mastering music. Hello and welcome to Mastering Music. My name is Petronella Turin and I am the producer of this podcast, this beautiful music podcast. And it's Corona times and we are sitting in isolation, and what is better than podcast then? I mean, I am dragging all the podcasts. I'm listening to so many podcasts. It's really nice. I discover a lot of beautiful and really nice and inspiring and full with good knowledge podcasts. So I'm really happy, and it's good weather. So I take my podcast with me when I go out for a walk and enjoy them and the nature at the same time. It's also a little bit like I keep quite busy actually with my music, even though I'm in isolation, so I cannot do so many concerts and so on. But I'm doing a lot of YouTube videos. If you want to learn how to play cello, you can go on YouTube, and my channel is there, Petronella Turin, Swedish cellist, and you find practice with Petronella videos. So if you want to practice cello with me, now is the time to learn to play this beautiful instrument. So I made videos where you can learn how to play cello in order to practice with the video. So one of my more brilliant ideas to keep my students going in practicing and learning cello, even though I cannot see them physically. But today's episode is an episode with a really good folk musician from Sweden. His name is, he's partly German. He was born in Germany, but he lived longer in Sweden than he did in Germany. So he's Swedish, in my opinion now. He loves Swedish folk music anyway. He's a big fan of folk music, and he's really passionate about two instruments. So we have the Swedish bagpipe and the keyed-fiddle, or Nyckel harp. It's called Nyckel harp in Sweden, and it's a beautiful instrument, beautiful folk music instrument. And he not only plays this instrument, he also makes them. So he was the first bagpipe maker in Sweden. So because he makes this Swedish bagpipe, who is a little bit different from other bagpipes. So he was the first one who started to do this kind of bagpipes in Sweden, because they kind of died out. And he has his own model when it comes to the Nyckel harp. They are made in Vienna, the Alban Faust model. And he's incredible. He made his own design of a lot of instruments, and he's constantly improving his instrument. He's also sharing a lot of music, because he composed a lot of music for this instrument, like bagpipe and the Nyckel harp. So wow, he knows so much, and he has his own CDs that he made. He has so much going on, this guy. And so the episode is a little bit longer than normal, but it's allowed because he has so much to give, so I just had to have a little bit longer episode. So the first hour we talk about how he's building instruments, what material he used, how he does it, how he learned it, and all about instrument making and his new design on the Nyckel harp, and all of this. So that's super interesting. And then after 1 hour we go into more Alban Faust as a musician, how he writes music, how he practices, and how he has built his own orchestra and all of this stuff. And he's also a local spelman, a riksspelman is called in Sweden. It's when you have like a special honorable mark because you entered a competition in folk music and then you got this mark. So he's really an amazing musician and a really good instrument maker. So enjoy this beautiful episode. I will not hold you longer. We are going to listen to him when he plays the Nyckel harp, this beautiful instrument. And the song is called The Wolf in the Troll's Village. And it's a polska, so it's a dance by Moffat, it says. And then in the end of the episode, we're going to listen to him when he plays the bagpipe. And then we're going to listen to a song from Malung. So enjoy this beautiful episode, guys. welcome to Master in Music, Alban Faust. We are sitting here in your house in Sweden, in the forest almost. It's in the countryside at least, in an area called Dalsland. It's an area, it's between Stockholm and Oslo, sort of, in the forest. Or how would you describe it?
Yeah, I used to say it's the little landscape which is in between the big lake Vienna and the Norwegian border.
Yeah, so it's a lot of nature here.
Yeah.
Are you a nature person?
I like to live in the countryside, but I'm not so very often in the forest as I should be, maybe.
But you enjoy working with wood?
Absolutely. I really love to work with wood.
Yeah, because most of your days you are in your workshop here and you work with different kind of material of wood.
Yeah, with different kinds of woods. As in my life is a life between workshop and playing and a little bit teaching, also workshops, and I make courses in many countries and so on.
Yeah, you were in Oslo recently.
Yes, I was last weekend. I was in Oslo and was teaching bagpipes.
Yeah.
There.
How was it?
It was very, very funny. It was a very fine place, and we were on a very big, wonderful hotel. And they were very interested, and especially in the evening, I played a little concert together with my wife on the clarinets, and it was the clarinet is working very good together with the bagpipe, with the Swedish bagpipe, because the Swedish bagpipe is also a clarinet instrument, but maybe we'll talk about it later. So it was funny, and it was really most funny for us to see many very young and very old people at the same place and playing music and dancing. So it was really great.
And is it difficult having a workshop with the bagpipe because they're quite loud?
You know, the Swedish bagpipe is not so as loud. This is why it's many people like this instrument. It's not, which I would call a typical bagpipe, because the Swedish bagpipe is a very calm instrument which you can play inside the house, and maybe not as good to play it outside.
Yeah, okay. Yes. So what is the difference between the more Scottish bagpipe and the Swedish one?
This is a very normal question I used to get, and I can't explain it because this would take days. But let's say we know about more than 180 different bagpipes in the whole Europe and Northern Africa and so on. But we can part these bagpipes in two classes or two families. It's the double reed bagpipes with the conical board chanters, which we have more in the Western Europe, as the Highland Scotch, as the Highland bagpipe, the Scottish bagpipe one. And we have the cylindrical drilled board bagpipes with a single reed, as the Swedish one. And the Swedish is called like the more other East European bagpipes.
Yeah.
So we have clarinet and we have oboe bagpipes, and this may be the main difference between the Scottish one and the Swedish one.
Yeah. I've been to Brussels. They have a big instrument museum there where there are a lot of different bagpipes. So I saw some of the different families when I was there, and it's amazing because it occurs all over the world actually. So it's really like one of the human favorite instruments. Because flutes are also very common around the world, but in different forms, of course. But it's why do you think it's a historical instrument that lasts so long? What is the best thing about bagpipes?
Yeah, we have to remember in the earlier times, before we had loudspeakers everywhere and radios and so on, the world was quite calm, and people liked instruments who could sound the whole time, would sound a little bit more, and the bagpipes, and this is especially with this instrument, you have the drones on the bagpipes, so they are sounding all this time, and this was something which people obviously liked in former times.
Yeah.
Like also the organ and the churches, they could sound all the time.
Yeah.
And not as the other stringed instrument who just were sounding when you're playing on the strings. And I think, and it was very popular. It was very good to use for to play dance music. And because you have in the bagpipe you have everything. You have the chant to play the melodies. You have the drones. You have the background notes, and you can even use your feet at the same time. So you and the bagpipe could be a whole orchestra.
And would you say it's a difficult instrument to play?
Also very common question. I used to say it's not more difficult than the recorder, because every instrument it's quite easy to play some notes, but to play really good, you have to practice and you have to learn and you have to play a lot. But like it's with all instruments, the guitar is also quite easy to play because one chord you can play maybe after a short time, but to play really good, you have to play many years, a long time. And so it's with a bagpipe. To get to make a little melody is maybe not as complicated. The first weeks to get the whole, to get a good flow in the instrument, to keep the pressure on the bags. But when you have this, after this, it's just playing and learning and the rehearsals and so on.
Putting the 10,000 hours in. That people say that you need to become a professional. So I know that you have developed a Swedish bagpipe. You call it, I don't know if I'm going to pronounce it right, but the posö, is it right? The name of the Swedish bagpipe, the posö?
The posö.
Posö.
We have different names for the Swedish bagpipes. We mostly call it Västerdala-pipa, because in the area of Dalarna, there were the last bagpipe player who was in the tradition. He died in 1949, and there we had a little area in Västerdalen where the Swedish bagpipe was played. We have to remember bagpipe was never a very known instrument in Sweden, but we have some areas, and there were some area where it was played. And posö is just another name for bag.
Okay.
Nothing more. But so the last player died in 1949, and there was calm for maybe 30 years. Yeah. And then in the 70s, when people get interested in folk music and old folk music instruments too, and I was a teenager at that time, I get also interested in many folk music instruments and older instruments, and even the Swedish one. And first, when I migrated to Sweden, as you know, I was born in Germany, but I came to Sweden in 1988, and until this, I had worked and played with medieval bagpipes, Renaissance bagpipes, mostly very much French bagpipes, and so on. So, and I tried to continue my life here in the north, and all people said to me, it's impossible to survive in Sweden when you, as a German, making French bagpipes and living in Sweden. This is impossible, they said to me. And I have some good people in the folk musicians from Sweden, like Ale Möller and Per Gudmundsson. They when they heard about me, they asked me if I could help them to make the Swedish bagpipes more playable. So I said, okay, I've worked and I played and I've built other bagpipes before, but never Swedish bagpipes. But I will do my best and try. And so on, this is the way it is. The first years in Sweden, I really tried to work with the Swedish bagpipe to keep the old bagpipes and the old sound, but at the same time to make it a little bit more playable and possible to work with the instrument and even to play it and to keep it in tune. Yeah. So
because it was difficult before.
Yeah, it has always been difficult, and it's still maybe not the easiest thing, because bagpipes are reed instruments, and reeds are sensitive. The moisture and the
humidity of
yes. They're reacting, and so this is why all mouth-blown bagpipes are a little bit more difficult to keep in tune because of the water, and especially the single reed bagpipes, like the Swedish one was. They used Swedish reeds for the bagpipes, and the Swedish reeds are very weak, and it is not a very good material. The first thing was I changed to Spanish and to French reeds, which were much more stronger and better quality to get it more sustainable, to stay in tune. And then I developed I changed the chant a little bit. The old chanters we have and the old bagpipes we have found, they had a very single minor scale, and I tried to make it bigger, to play major scales and different scales on the same little chanter. So my Swedish bagpipes get other kind of reeds, and the scale becomes a little bit larger, so to play more keys on it. And then even in the later days, and I made, and then because the traditional Swedish bagpipe has only one drone, which is tuned at the same note as the bottom note on the chanter. And I made even Swedish bagpipes with several drones, 2, maybe 3 drones. But it was, as long as you use natural reeds, always a little bit difficult, even with my bagpipes, to keep them in tune, because this is why the bagpipes disappeared from all over in Europe when the accordions came in the folk music. All of these old instruments, which were more complicated to handle, they disappeared in many areas in Europe and even here in Sweden. And the next thing in development was to play the Swedish bagpipes with bellows. Mm-hmm. Like the Irish do. Yeah. And there we have to solve the problem with the moisture, because the bellow-blown bagpipes, they are dry. And so if you have a well-tuned reed on these pipes, they stay very stable. You have still a little bit of tuning work, but it's very little. And nowadays I'm just only playing on my concerts and so on. I'm always playing a bellow-blown bagpipe, because I just want it to work. Yeah. And I don't want to handle it to tune it too much.
Yeah. But it sounds like a lot of work. How long did it take to develop it? Because it's a lot of adjustments, and I can imagine that it must have taken a lot of time because you have to try and error and then adjust it.
Very much try and error. But you can just learn something about your mistakes. You learn nothing of your successes. Always, I have to try, fail. Yeah. Try and fail and getting better and to learn all the way and still now I've made bagpipes for nearly 40 years and I've still a lot of things to learn.
Because I was talking with a violin maker and cello maker and he said that he would like to they are very conservative actually, he told me, and he said that they really like stick to the standard all the time. And because I was asking him if they are thinking about making more ergonomical instruments, because a lot of musicians have pain in their shoulders, in their back, because the instruments are very unergonomical. Yeah. And then he said, no, we never even thought about that. And I said, yeah, but I mean, wouldn't that be the next level of instrument that are more ergonomic? But he said it was because it's too expensive to make instrument and fail, he said. Because making an instrument takes a long time and then you lose the money if it's not a good instrument.
Yeah, this is a problem. And maybe it's not such a big problem with the bagpipes, because if you have found you know how to handle it, this is not as difficult. It's a much bigger problem with the Nyckel harpa, because this is a really unergonomical instrument, much more than a violin, I would say. But the bagpipes, this is always the problem with these old instruments and traditional instruments. How far can you get? But in my opinion, tradition is not only to make a copy of some old things and don't to think about. Tradition is to learn of the older instruments or the older music and make it to your own, to make one more step and to be a part of the tradition. Mm-hmm. And so I considered about my bagpipes. I would always beware the old sound. This was the most important. The old sound, clarinet sounding, single reeds, and so on. But I tried to make it better, more reliable, and with a little bigger range for the keys.
Because it kind of have to stay alive in order to staying alive in the musical world, because instrument that like kind of stop developing, they kind of die out. It's maybe my opinion a little bit, but because if you stay alive and you develop small things to make it better, they will always be part of the music history, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think before me, it was no one who made, for example, Swedish bagpipes with bellows. I was the first one. And I also started with a fingering, because when I made my first bagpipes and my first customers came to me, I had, they came with different fingerings to me. Like, the one was playing it this way and this way, and after 3-4 instruments, I just say, no, I can't do that. We have to have a common fingering, and because I've learned the French bagpipes and other bagpipes, and the so-called half-closed fingering, also called for the French fingering, is very useful and very good and used on many bagpipes instruments. So I started with these half-closed fingerings on the Swedish bagpipes because they are working best. And nowadays, I think the whole world is playing half-close fingering on bagpipes. But it was me who to try to make a standard. Before there was nothing. And then the next thing, and even with I have made my chanted with 2 thumb holes. Not only one on the top for the octave, even a little one on the back side for the right hand for playing the minor third. And the old instrument hadn't the minor third down. But now it's standard for all bagpipes, Swedish bagpipes makers and players. So, but maybe not all of them know that I was starting with this. But it doesn't matter. So it is. You become a part of it, kind of, or the part of the traditionals. And this I'm quite happy for that I had the possibilities. But of course, it took very much time and very much unpaid time. So this is a life but it was a life I chose.
But I mean, it also sounds like you must be like super brave. Because I think a lot of people don't dare to do these kind of things because they stay to the tradition because it's kind of safe. I mean, it's hard enough to make an instrument without challenging.
This is worse for the violin makers. I think me and we as bagpipe makers, we have a little bit more freedom to make it as in our own ways. For the other instrument makers, it's much harder. I think.
They're not so conservative. I always have the experience that folk musicians are more chill. They're not gonna make you suffer or like argue a lot with you if you change something.
I think so. So it is. I think so too.
But also the request came from the musicians. They came to you, like Alban came to you to ask for improvements in the instrument.
Yes, of course. Some of these improvements I need them for myself, for my own playings. I just need one more note in scale, and then maybe some of my customers said, can't we do it like this way or this way? And yes, of course. And I'm thinking free, and I try to do it as I want. And even when I just making these bagpipes in different keys and different lengths. Nowadays I have four different sizes. Only the Swedish one. I'm still making middle-aged bagpipes, Renaissance. All the other bagpipes I'm still making too. But the Swedish one nowadays I make them in 4 different sizes, and on all these chanters you can play. On each of them, you can play a lot of keys. And also with the drones. Before you had one drone on one note. My standard drone, you can always play 3 different notes on the same drone. And as I also said, the bellow-blown Swedish bagpipe, which was quite new for 25 years ago. But nowadays, I should nearly say it's my most selling instrument. And this was developed by myself. It's just developed. I have my experience, and I have seen other bagpipes. I learned from the Irish ones, and I have my own experience as a musician, and I know the traditional instruments. And I put all these together, and a little bit try and error, but this model nowadays, which Alban calls for the Northern Ilian pipes. We have the Irish Ilian pipes. You can with this expression. Northern Ilian pipes, I should say this more popular nowadays in my workshop than the classical, the single Swedish bagpipes.
Of course, if it's more rewarding to play on.
Yes, it's working, and you can use it, and even all these musicians which are more professional, you need stable instruments. You just can take and play on it, and not have to work with the instruments a lot before playing. They loved it, and many people have seen that it's working. And so
I always think that a good instrument maker is someone who is listening to the musicians, because it has to be a symbiosis between musicians and instrument makers.
Absolutely.
Because sometimes I feel that some instrument makers can be a little bit too obsessed with their making an instrument, but if they don't make instrument that you can play on, or like I'm also challenging some of them.
But you see, my history is another one. I have always been, first of all, a musician. I love to play music. This is my thing. And then I immigrated to Sweden, and I did understand I can't survive in Sweden just by making music. I built some instruments before, but it was just a side. How it's called?
A hobby.
Yeah, it's a hobby, and it was more hobby. I get some instruments sold, and I even earned some money on this. But it was mostly I was always a player first.
Yeah.
But when I came to Sweden, I had to accept that it's impossible just to survive as a quite unknown musician in this country. And but they didn't know so much about bagpipes here in the north, and this was my how it's called, my niche, was my
your calling to make it known.
Yeah, because the first when I came to Sweden, there was no one else in the whole northern Europe who tried to survive on instrument bagpipe making. So in many years I was the only bagpipe maker in the whole north. Now we have some more who also try this after me.
So you learned by yourself, or did you go to a master and learn some? Or?
It's a combination of everything. Mostly I learned by myself. I'm what's called self-educated, but I visited many other instrument makers, and I looked in their workshops and how they did, and I talked to them and I played with them, and so there were many friendly people who showed me things, and I had some more friends who are working in the wood business, how to handle wood. My own brother is organ maker. He's not working at this anymore longer, so I get much of information from different
angles,
directions, and as I said, most of these I learned by myself, doing and fail.
Trying and error.
This is so important.
Yeah.
So, but I've never made a real. I have not learned it as
like a profession.
Like a profession. No.
So did you? I have two questions more about this specific topic. So I want to ask you, did you teach anyone?
Yes.
Here?
Oh, yeah. And this is also one things where I'm quite proud about. Yes, I have some students here in my workshop who have. I teach instrument making, especially bagpipe making, and there are some of them who started their career in my workshop and continued.
Yeah.
And someone who started the first weeks in my workshop, and he's now a diplomated bagpipe maker in Berlin.
Amazing.
And he has become very famous and known. And
what is his name?
Han heter Matthias Branschke.
Oh, yeah. Is he German? Or
he's German. Yeah, he's German.
So he came all the way.
Yeah. I say, people who are making folk music in Europe, they know each other. We are not so many, and so once he just asked me if I could make a practice at home here for some weeks, and I said, just come, and I can. Yeah. I love to show people. I love to show people how I do. Teaching is something which I really like. Every kind of teaching, music and instrument making. So I have no secrets. I show everybody everything, because I know it's not enough just to know how to do. You have to do it, and you have to do it quite a lot of times until you will get used to it and you learn it. So I have no secrets for anyone.
Awesome.
in my workshop. No.
I think that's amazing attitude, because
I know many of my colleagues, especially the violin makers and so they have another attitude.
And string companies, they are so secretive.
Yeah.
They will defend their strings with the death between them. They are really...
No, but not me.
No, that's great. So can you tell us like the process of making a bagpipe? Like first you get the wood, I guess? Or could you also put them in water or something?
No. To explain the process just by words is not not so easy for me. It's much more easy with if you can look at it. Yeah, normal thing is you have to start with a tree.
Yeah.
You have to saw it in four
squared
pieces. is.
And where do you get your wood from?
From many different places. I have.
How old is the wood? Does it matter how old it is?
Yeah.
And what kind of wood?
Many different kinds of wood,
yeah.
And it has to be old. Normally, you say if you have wood, normally you say it has to dry. For each year, it's about a thumb. It's better 1 centimeter. Excuse me, 1 centimeter for every year. If you have a board about 3 centimeters, it has to dry 3 years.
Okay.
Just for about. Okay. And this also depends on what I'm using very often wood from fruit trees as plum. Plum is one of the best and is known as already from Middle Age. But even cherry tree and apple. And one thing which I really like, which is not maybe so good, but it looks very good. This is curly birch.
Okay.
Very Nordic one, especially in my combinations with the reindeer mountains. So this looks very good. Mm-hmm. And I don't use these from the rainwoods.
In your workshop?
No, in my workshop, no. It's normally from woods from fruit trees, as I said, plum and cherry. Maple is, of course, good too, and olive tree and some more.
The olive trees are quite small, so you don't get so much if you take one, no?
Yeah, but on the little ones, they're quite small. Okay. Yes. Yeah. But you don't need so much for the pipes. You don't need so big pieces.
Okay.
They have. It's more important that there are some of them are quite long and straight. Yeah.
Okay. So when you have the wood, what happens then? You have the wood in a square meter?
Yeah, I have the square meters, and then the more thing is on the turning machine. Mm-hmm. I turn it round. It's the first thing, and then I have to drill it. Yeah. And when I have drilled, I also drill them on the turning machine. And this is the one thing which is a little bit complicated for them who can't, because sometimes I have to drill maybe a piece of 50 centimeters with just 4 millimeters drill. Yeah. And to make it this straight needs a little bit of experience. Yeah. But you learn. Because this is very, very important that the bores are very straight. Yeah. The instruments. And the Swedish bagpipes, they're just cylindrical bores, so they're a little bit more easier to make. I have other bagpipes with conical shanties. This is another thing. But okay, you drill them, and then you have to put them on the turning machine again, because sometimes the bores are not exactly in the middle, so you have to centrate it again, and then you put on all the rings and the small things on the shanties. You glue them and next step of turning to make the outward period, the outward things, and after this for the shanties, of course, the holes. The Jones don't have holes, or just one. And when you are ready with the woodworking, then you put the whole thing linseed oil.
Oh, yeah.
And there they will. There I used to keep them for some days. 2 or 3 days, and after this they have to dry. As a linseed oil, it takes very long time with drying. It normally it dries weeks or months, depending on which kind of linseed oil it is. So it takes time, and some of them when they have even wax it on the outside, or sometimes when they want to have a very fine finish, I use shellac. On the outside, but not so very often. But always oil, linseed oil.
And I know that there is actually a documentary on YouTube where you have some pictures when you do this. It's a German documentary I saw. It's quite old.
Yeah, it's quite old.
Because I think your children were small. When it was made, but. If the listeners wants to see it, they can go and look at it. Actually, there is some small pictures of it.
I make it still the same way. Yes, I remember this little film. Yes, I make it still the same. Yeah, with maybe some little variations. Yeah, but
of course with some polishings and the new tricks that you develop. And then you make the bag as well, or the bag comes from somewhere else, or
no. I make everything myself. Yes, I sew my bags. I have a very old.
Sewing machine?
Yes, sewing machine from 1911.
Oh, but they're always the best when they're old.
The old ones, and all on this machine I sew my bags.
Yeah, is old Betty.
Yeah, this is working fine, and it works all the years. And
what kind of fabric do you use for the bagpipe then?
For the bags, this is normal cow leather.
Yeah.
Normal
biological made
cow leather, which I sew. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The cow leather comes to you, or you go and
no? Mostly I have somebody who knows what I need. Yeah. So I used to buy a whole cow or something, just a half.
Yeah.
Because I have some different colors.
Preference.
Yeah, precis.
And when you make a bagpipe, is it like in the beginning, does it need like to be played in, or is it perfect from the beginning? Or
nothing is perfect from the beginning.
Yeah.
It's especially like all the other instruments. I used to say when the instrument is ready, when you have finished the building of the instrument, the work starts.
Okay.
Because then you have the small things, and you have even if you have made the same instrument, the same chanter for many times, it's always you have to work a little bit with the holes, and you have to file a little bit. And I'm quicker today than I was for 30 years ago or 25 years ago. But now it takes some time. And then also the wood is working. Wood is living material. And normally I play in all bagpipes before I'm selling them. Yeah. And I play in them for about 2 weeks or something like that. And then I say to all my customers, after a year, I want all my instruments back once more to make the last finish, because everything is changing a little bit in the first year. But after a year, everything is getting calm.
Yeah. Okay, so it's like a teenage voice a little bit in the beginning.
Yeah.
It needs some time. So how long does it take to make it, like the whole process? What time estimation?
This is also a classical question.
Yeah. I know.
I always get from journalists, and I have a classical answer. I used to say, because you see, I make very little big pipes, and I make very big pipes with many drones and so on. But the smallest one, so a little Swedish, like you can see it down there in this, the little one, a little Swedish one with one drone, mouth blown, for about 25 hours.
Okay.
So.
Okay. But then it takes a long time for it to dry.
Yes, of course.
So that's working hours.
Only the working time, yeah.
So then they still have to wait some weeks for the drying and the adjustments and stuff. Because I know that when you order a cello, you have to kind of expect 1 year, 1.5 years from the instrument.
Yeah, the same as me. If you order in on bagpipe, I normally say it's between 6 and 12 months.
Yeah,
depends on how much I have to do.
But do you have them also do you make them and have some in layer, or do you only make after someone orders something?
I make both. Mostly I'm making them especially for people who order special instruments with a special kind of wood and rings and drones and so on. But I also always make some instruments just for fun, or you find them then on my website.
Yeah.
When I'm so. And now I had the course in Norway. I made some instruments for my students, so they have something to play on.
Yeah.
So it's a combination. Mostly people order instruments as they want, but I also used to have some of them at home.
Yeah.
So it can, when you order instrument, 6 to 12 months. And if you're in a hurry, you have to look what I have at home.
Oh, yeah, exactly. If you have the need for a quick affair.
Yeah.
So how much does it cost, a bagpipe?
The smallest one, a very standard, very easy one, is 9,000 crowns, including moms.
Yeah, okay. So, I don't know.
It's 900 euro for about.
Yeah, okay.
The easiest one.
And the big one, advanced?
The advanced, the really advanced with a lot of drones. Maybe now I sell one instrument to Norway, to a guy in Tromsø, and for example, this one, it was a Swedish bagpipe with a bellow, and just sewing the bellow takes an whole day, because I sew them by hand. Yeah. With bellow and 4 drones and 4 stop keys, which means you can play each drone as you want, and this is 2,500 euro.
Oh. That's quite cheap. I mean, my cello is 10,000 euros. So for me, I'm like,
but
because it's a lot of working hours into it.
It's a lot of working, but yeah. But we have to compromise, and of course, if you want to earn money, you should not be an instrument maker. It's better to make pizzas or something like other things. But this takes time, and even you see my little whistles there, and people coming to me, and all this whistle making takes also quite a lot of time, and a little whistle may cost 300 euro. Yeah. And people come to me and say, of course, you can buy a whistle made in plastic, made in China for made your 50 euro or 30 euro, I don't know, but this takes time, and the time, the money I'm earning in every hour is not very much. But this is a kind of lifestyle. I'm living in the countryside. I'm living. It's cheap here. I own my own house, and I don't need so much. I'm not interested in modern things and new mobile phones, TV, and so on. I'm quite simple life here. So I don't need so much. So because of this, I don't need to earn so much either.
But I was also thinking, do you repair the instruments as well?
Yes. Of course, mostly I repair the instruments I make myself. Of course, I'm always say, if someone is buying an instrument by me, I used to say, you have service for this instrument as long as I live. Okay. And what it means on bagpipes, they also have a guarantee, which is a lifelong. Okay. If something will happen with the tree and it will crack somewhere, I repair it without any cost. Okay, wow. Only the normal things like reeds and so on, which use, and you have to change them. You have to, but if someone, for example, if some wooden thing cracks out of itself. Yeah. Which is normally never happens. Yeah. So in this case, I'm repairing these without any payment.
Do a bagpipe, do they increase in price the older they get, or is they staying the same price? Because a cello gets more expensive the older it gets, but how is it with bagpipes?
No,
they stay the same, or
no? They're not. I don't think they're not increasing in price. Maybe some very, very exclusively made bagpipes. Okay. But the more normal ones, like all the woodwind instruments, they're normally not increasing in prices. Okay. In contrary to these other cello and these instruments, So
you cannot invest in them.
But I have to say, but the sound, and now sometimes I'm getting older bagpipes in my workshop for service, which I made for maybe 25 or 30 years ago. Yeah. And at that time I was not as good as today. Mm-hmm. But I'm still astonished sometimes that they are sounding very, very good. Mm-hmm. Still I have to work a bit. Maybe my turning was not, my woodwork was not as good as today, and they are not so exclusively as they are today. But they're working fine, and they're sounding very good. And there I also noticed that older bagpipes obviously are sounding better. Yeah. And they're getting better in sound.
Yeah, something with the fiber in the wood. Yeah, adjust.
It's something like that. Yeah. They get a little bit more rounded. It's more, it's more warm and. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the Nyckel harpa, the keyed-fiddle.
Keyed-fiddle, yeah.
So you made a design of a harp who's special that they are producing in Vienna.
Yeah, now you start and you started in the end. Okay. I have to say I've played on built Nyckel harps also for many, many years. Mm-hmm. I started with these for 40 years ago, something like that. And I made my first Nyckel harps by myself. And by playing them, I noticed that I like to change some things and to I need some extras. For example, I needed a big range on the keys, more keys, and then even the possibility, because the Nyckel harp is still a drone instrument, which many people have forgotten, because you have one string without mechanics, and the bottom string is a drone string. And this is why I'm working with this instrument. I love drone music. It's a music which is based on one note, and you have normally a natural scale on this note. And so the Nyckel harp is 2. And so I needed a Nyckel harp with more keys, possibility to change the drone in different notes, and even a kind of capo system where I can change the ground tuning of some strings. Because when I'm playing Nyckel harp, I'm still playing in the older way, which means very often 2 or sometimes 3 strings at the same time. So I'm playing drone Nyckel harp or more polyphonic Nyckel harp. This is my special style, and I think it's this is what I like most. Many people today, they're playing a kind of violin technique on Nyckel harp nowadays, and this is not really my style. But everybody can play it as better as they want. So I have nothing to say about this. But I wanted to still play the old way of Nyckel harp, I will say, drone playing. And so I just developed, is maybe said too much. I made the Nyckel harp. You have to see, Nyckel harp is also old instrument. When the oldest Nyckel harps, with a very, very easy one, they're maybe 1,000 years old. And this model, which we mostly play today, we played here in the north for about 100 or a little bit more years, which is called the so-called chromatic Nyckel harp, which means you have 12 notes in an octave. And the oldest ones, they were more diatonic with some extra notes. And then we get also the problems, because the old diatonic Nyckel harps, they were normally tuned naturally to the drones. As soon you got all these extra notes, you got the problems with the intonations. Because and then people started to tune them chromatically. If you part an octave in exactly same distances,
like a piano, like
a piano. So, but
that's not the honest truth, of the tuning, right? Because it's always going to be compromised tuning.
And this is the Nyckel harp's problem, because and contrary to the other stringed instruments, you have to decide where you put your note. Because you can't change your fingers. So you have, and that's also why many Nyckel harps people don't care so much about sounding and tuning. But this was very, very important for me to get a kind of tuning which I can accept, which is more natural. But if you play, one key absolutely natural, you can't play any other keys. So I have something in between. I can play the most important keys in Swedish folk music. I can play very well on this Nyckel harp, and they are very, very clear and nearly natural. And some other keys are not sounding as good, but we don't use them. And I'm mostly interested to playing folk music, not so much classical music. And here in Sweden, every kind of Swedish folk music is based on the violin. And on the violin, you have the tune in G, D, A, E. And the middle, you have the D, A fifth. And the D, A fifth is, in my opinion, is the ground of all northern and Swedish music. So if you're looking at our violin tunes, Swedish folk music, much more than 50% of all tunes are D major or minor. Some in A and so on. But there you have them. So I decided to get the D A fifth on my Nyckel harp as the middle of the tuning. So this instrument is tuned more natural about this fifth. Have a capo system, have a drone, possible to a drone switch where you can play and more keys and some other small things, which I changed too. But my problem was in my workshop, I'm mostly a turning factory workshop. It took a long time for me to make Nyckel harps because I don't have this, and I should become too expensive for selling them. Then I came in contact with have a friend in Vienna, and I have him for many years ago, and he is a professional violin maker.
Yeah.
And he was very interested in Nyckel harps, but can't play.
Yeah, okay.
And so we started, and we talked about this for many years. And I said, can't we work together in some way, and can we help each other? And so decided. So he took the last instrument I made by myself, which became the ground model for the instrument he's making now in Vienna. And this is my model. So the model is called Alban Faust still, but it's made in Vienna. He makes the instrument, which is kind of, and we are still always developing this instrument too, as small things we change. But so he makes the instrument, he sends it to me, and I make the last tuning and fixing all the intonation and
fine adjustments.
The final adjustment. Thank you. Yes. So he makes the ground instrument. I make the final adjustments, and this is only and this instrument can be is just sold by me.
Yeah.
So he makes just for me, but so we can also keep it to a price which is quite good, which would be absolutely impossible for me.
Yeah.
So to make, and I'm myself playing on this Nyckel harp.
So it's quite a complex instrument. On
Nyckel harp. It's quite a complex instrument.
Because it's a lot of mechanics, and it's a lot more than a violin. So it is kind of all the string instruments combined into one sort of. That's my feeling, at least. When you play, it feels like a whole orchestra is going on. But it's actually just one person.
Well, this is why I love it so much, because it's a perfect solo instrument, and it works even very good together with other instruments. And this is why I love the Nyckel harp so much, especially with my kind of playing, because I play with the old round bows, not with the short violin bows. And you can play two voices at the same time, sometimes three voices at the same time on the stringed instruments. And this is what I love to do. Yeah. But for this is especially important to be very careful with the tuning. Yeah. Because on stringed instruments, if you take, for example, the third, the natural third is much more lower than the chromatical equal third on the piano. On normal strings instruments is no problem, because you can just change your finger a little bit and you get a fine third, but not on the Nyckel harp. So you have to decide where you put your notes. And and for this, I play the most important thirds for my music and for my keys. I made them a little bit lower to make it more good in sounding. And of course, because of this, I lost other keys to play on. Yeah. But for me, it's more important to could play 5, 6 minor and major keys well sounding instead of 12, and all these 12 are not sounding very good. Not good enough. And you can tune them in this instrument as you want, but I prefer this more natural tuning. Yeah. And I would say in folk music, because most of the folk musicians, they don't understand something about physics and music. They just play, and they play for their ears, and you hear when your intervals are natural. Yeah. So I would make proposition that most folk musicians, they play on natural scales and more natural scales because they are sounding finest.
Yeah, I think also. So what does Alban Faust Nyckel harp cost?
Nowadays it costs an Alban Faust Nyckel harp completely inclusive with a case and a single bow, €3,500.
Wow, that's so cheap. Oh my god, it's so much work. You should pay. You should be more expensive. I mean, it's a case. I mean, only a cello case costs like €1,000. So.
Yeah, the case is it's a more single case, not like this form case like the cello has. So the case only the case is €250. So this is more single one, but it's working good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I should start playing the Nyckel harp instead.
And maybe I should say we have still sold it to this price. I don't know how long we can keep this price. Yeah. So, but we are
demand get high. Also prices get higher.
But we have now three instruments which are in progress in Vienna. So they will be finished in the next month.
Yeah.
But they still can sell for this price.
But how long is the process of the Nyckel harpa making then? Is it also 1 year-ish, or is it longer?
No, it's just for about also 1 year. Yeah.
And but the Nyckel harpas, do they get more valuable by time because it's more wood in it?
I really don't know because we have not. No, I think they. No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Of course, if you have really old Nyckel harpas, maybe good Nyckel harpas which are in very good shape and which are good played, they increase in value.
Yeah.
A little bit, but not so much like the other stringed instruments and bowed instruments.
And do you also make the bows for them, or
I make these round bows? Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And I can also make the violin bows, but this is not so interesting because there are others who make better violin bows than me.
Yeah,
but the older round bows I make myself. Yeah.
Yeah. So now we talked a lot about your instrument making, but I want to talk about you as a musician as well. So you play a lot of instruments. I have heard by the locals here that you started by guitar. Is it true? You started by guitar as a guitarist?
No, I started with piano. When I was 6-7 years ago, I started with piano. But my father, he played a little bit guitar, not much. He could some chords, and he was singing for us children. So I tried his guitar when I was about 10 or something like this. And already 2 years later, all the people said, when my father and me were singing together, they always said that I should play the guitar and not him. But it was in the happy 70s, and there were all kinds of instruments were very interesting and fascinating for me. So when I was a teenager, I tried a lot of instruments. Because it's a little bit history. So it was guitar and, of course, accordion and mandolin and banjo, kind of instruments. I tried everything because everything was interesting. And then I getting connected. I saw my first bagpipes on the continent in Europe, and it was really it was a Swedish bagpipe made by a Dutch man. When I was, I think it was 18 or 19, I don't remember. Got my first bagpipe and played a Swedish bagpipe, which was not working very well, but I got a really kick of all this bagpipe playing, and came in contact with many other bagpipe players and instruments. And then I saw my first Nyckel harp also in this, at that time, it was in the late 70s, a Nyckel harp. It was here in Dalsland. And I was directly fascinated of the instrument. It was a man who had built this Nyckel harp, but he couldn't play. But because I know hurdy-gurdy and other instruments, I didn't understand how this must work. So he sent me to another man who even also here in Dalsland, who made Nyckel harps and played. There I learned to play my first tunes on Nyckel harps, and I could borrow instrument of him and started to make my first Nyckel harp. Yeah. This one which you sang there is my first Nyckel harp. I made that. I was 20, something like that, 20, 21. And then is happening an incident in the workshop, because I came with my left hand in a planing machine.
Oh my God!
So I cut off the top of this finger.
The finger, okay.
The ring finger on my left hand, and this was catastrophic.
Yeah.
Because it was impossible for me to play guitar. But at that time, I really developed my Nyckel harp playing and my bagpipe playing, because there I could play. I didn't need the fingertops. The fingertops. So because of this catastrophe, I got all my energy on the Nyckel harp instead of the guitar. Yeah. So then I was playing Nyckel harp and bagpipes for many years. So the guitar got in renaissance just for 10 years ago. Yeah. So I started again to playing guitar. Yeah.
But now it's fine, the finger? Or
I had several months until I get these harder tops hard skin, again. Yeah. But it was to get back to the guitar was also very interesting, because under that time, the 20 years, I learned about many of drone playing and folk music playing. So I have nowadays, even when I'm playing guitar, I have playing with drop D tunings and open strings to playing sometimes kind of drone music even on the guitar.
Yeah.
So piano, guitar, many different instruments, searching, and with about 20 Nyckel harp and bagpipes. And I'm still fascinated of all kind of music instruments. I just love music and I love music instruments, but I understand that life is short and I don't have so much time. So I have just 3 areas where I play, and this Nyckel harp, different kind of bagpipes, mostly Swedish bagpipes, because this I love most, and guitar. These are my 3 instruments. Yeah.
And you got the Zorn mark, or is it a little pin, or what is it? The Zorn
the
mark?
Zorn. Okay. Riksspelmansmärke. Yeah.
The local playman fiddler.
Yeah, this is a very
hard to
special
translate.
Swedish phenomenon.
Yeah.
You can. It's difficult to play for other people, but you have once a year you have a competition here somewhere in Sweden where you can play for a jury, and you have to play traditional instruments, traditional music after landscape or some players, and for this you can get different kind of marks or prizes.
Yeah.
The first is called a Zornmärke.
Yeah. Is it after Andersson?
Yeah, Andersson.
Yeah.
He was one. He started with, I think it was 1904, when he noticed that all the old music. We noticed that the old tunes should disappear if we are not going to keep them in life, and so he started this competition to push players to play the old music and old tunes, and we're still and on this competition, which is once a year, you can play, and then you can get different grades, and the first one is Nobel diploma, and then you have bronze, and and some more, and when you're coming up to this silver, you get the right to call yourself a riksspelman, which
it's an honorable title.
Yeah, it's honorable title. Yeah, it is, especially for one which was born in another country.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone was not born in Sweden.
But I don't know, like for me, you always been like, I don't know do people even know that you're German?
No, it doesn't matter. For me, I'm feeling much more, I'm not German.
But you are Swedish citizens also.
Yeah, yes, of course. I've been Swedish citizen for a long time ago. And I'm feeling definitely more Swedish today. But,
because you lived here longer than you were living in another country.
Yes. The longest time of my life I've lived here in Dalsland. Yeah.
But actually, I think it's nice that, if you're keeping the music alive, you should be able to get the mark, I think. I mean, it's my opinion. I'm not a folk musician in that way. I wish I could. I was more of a folk musician than I am. But
no, it was. I get just to say yes. It was very. I get very happy about it, and I'm also a little bit proud about it.
Yeah. I think if you're a folk musician in Sweden, you really, really want this mark. I think it's a very sought after prize.
Yeah. It's also, especially as for me, if I have to be a little bit honest also. If you're living on music as me, playing, building music instruments, it's also very good to have this mark, because it's a little bit more easy to sell yourself.
Yeah.
Because then you have
a quality mark.
People know he can play and she and it's a little more easier to sell yourself.
Yeah, I was studying in Ingesund. It's a folk music. No, it's actually a music teacher school. But all the folk musicians that were studying there, they were talking about this mark all the time. And they were like, "Oh, if we get this," and of course the teacher also had the marks, and they were like, for them it was a big deal. So I guess it also depends on who you are and what level you are playing.
Yeah.
But of course, you don't only play for getting marks. At least not as a folk musician. As a musician, we also face a lot of challenges. So I wanted to talk to you about how do you handle nerves, like stress and stuff like this on stage? Do you get nervous?
First time I was on stage, I was 15 years old, and now I'm nearly 60. So when you have to play outside or on stage, and it was much more worse in the earlier times, but you get used to it, and so it's not so. I can stand it quite well because for me it's more important. Very often I'm playing together with other peoples, and I have very often much more to work with my colleagues to keep them calm instead of myself, because I'm a little used to it, but I'm still a little bit nervous. And I should say you have to be also a little nervous, because otherwise you don't make your thing, because it's important to play on stage. It's important to play good and to do your best, because you have to be a little bit nervous. But too much, it's difficult, because when you're shivering too much, you can't play.
No. So what do you say to your colleagues when they are nervous?
Different things. First of all, have good time on you. So always when I'm the little concerts in this area, local playings and so on, when I'm playing with my orchestra, because I have the little
the
Dalsland Spelmans Orchestra, where we're playing local music, not only local but mostly, etc. 1 hour before
the concert starts,
before playing concert. Then even the smaller ones, and then you have time to go through the program a little bit. And another thing, tune your instruments. Bet it twice and just once. Tune, because we're playing folk music. When you're in tune, when you have a lot of violins, and when they are in tune, or maybe if they are missing a little bit of the melody, as long as the strings are in tune, it doesn't matter so much. But it's very, very difficult to find each other when someone is not in tune. Because then you're just floating anywhere and you don't know what to know. But when everybody is exactly in tune, it's much more easier to play together, and then you get more calm also. Intonation is more than the half of the work. So have good time, intonation, tuning, and this is ending on the most important things. And one thing which we are not allowed to do here in Sweden, but is okay on the continent, you can take a glass of wine or something like that before 2. Not much, but a little bit, just to calm you down. I know they don't like it to hear it in Sweden, but this works. When I was touring with my groups in Europe, and when they were too nervous,
you get the bottle of wine and this
just a little bit, just to calm down a little bit, because it can be very easily too much, and then it just get worse.
Goes over,
So, but this it is, and for me, because nowadays I'm very often a leader in the orchestra or in the bands. So for my work is mostly to work with the other ones. Because I have to be calm. I have to look calm, even if I'm not. I am. So I have to calm down my colleagues and together and just smile.
You're faking it till you make it.
Absolutely.
Then it works, because it is very hard to be nervous if you're smiling, I think. For me at least, because then it's like you become what you act like or something. But you have the big orchestra with the local fiddlers, and I think it's only violins and one bass, no?
No, we have
also more instruments?
Violins, and we have one whistle, and my wife's now playing the clarinet and guitar, bass.
It's a good combat of different instruments. And then you have Alban and the Iron Boys?
Well, this is my guitar band. They're only playing guitar, nothing more, and this is more a hobby band. We didn't have so many concerts together.
I just like the name very much.
Because my colleagues, they are living in Järn. And we needed
so they live in the area
for our first concerts, and so they get the Iron Boys. So
they live in the area called Järn in Sweden, and Järn is iron actually. So that's exactly where the joke is. And then you have what was it? It was Alban. And now Faust, Fredriksson, and
Blom.
And Blom, yes.
Yes, it's Faust and Fredriksson. This is very Thomas Fredriksson. He and me, we became riksspelman in the same day. and he's just living 4 kilometers from me.
Yeah.
And this was for...
He lives in Das Rostock, I think.
Yeah, Das Rostock, exactly. And we had played together before, a little bit sometimes. And on this day, we get this title, both he and me. And we decided now we have to play a little bit more closer and a little bit more often. And then it was very funny because he went to Das Rostock and he bought a house there. Mm-hmm. So we are very, very close to each other and very easy to play. And I really love to play with him because he's we were mostly playing here in my house, and he has very, very big ears. Mm-hmm. He's listening to everything, and because mostly I am playing the first voices and he's mostly playing the second voices. Yeah. Not always, but mostly. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter if I'm playing Nyckel harp or bagpipes. He's following me very, very closely and beautiful.
Awesome.
And then we really needed and Søren Blom is the bass player who's playing in all the groups and in this area. Yeah. That doesn't matter what they do.
The only bass player.
He plays jazz music and songs. And we met him for some years ago where we had a concert and just asked him if wants to play some more tunes together with us. But he was very afraid because Fast, he is from this area. Has never played local music, and especially polska music, which is this 3-beat music, which is very special for the North. He hadn't made it before. He was very afraid of trying by himself. But then we said to him that we can just try, and you will get it, and you will find it. And so we started to play music from his own area because he is from here. Yeah. So and so sometimes we play just Thomas and me, and sometimes together with him. Yeah. So.
And you write your own music as well?
There are some tunes.
So how is the process when you write music? Because I really like your songs.
Oh, thank you.
How do you come up with them? Do you sit here next to the lake and...
It takes time. Yeah. I'm not quick. I'm not fast. Very often it starts with a little melody and then I'm working on it and change it a little bit, playing again. Very often when I'm sitting in this room, maybe very often in the night when I'm for myself and just playing one instrument and trying some figures and suddenly there is something growing, there's something coming, and try the same melody once more again, the day after, and then again and again. But and after a while, it becomes a tune. Yeah. But normally, all my tunes take time. I have tunes which I have played a year before I need it on the stage. Yeah. First, after a year, I decided now it's good enough for to play it. Yeah. But
so it's an improvisation process, sort of.
Sort of. Sometimes also I decide now I want to make a tune in A major, something which is a quite difficult key on the Nyckel harp. Yeah. A major is not, because Nyckel harp is a C-based instrument. Yeah. A major is sounding very good. Yeah. So then I thought, okay, now and then I start somewhere with some notes, and after a while it becomes hopefully a tune in A major. Yeah. Sometimes I have to train figures or scales, and it can happen so that because of this kind of etude of this, I sometimes develop a whole tune. Yeah. There's a tune on my first record, Musik från Dalsland, which is called Långt borta, which was exercise for my bagpipe. But this has become very popular, so many playing it now because it's a lot of chords up and down, and but it became a tune.
Do you also write it down, your tunes?
Sometimes.
You don't sell the music?
Yes. I've made the first CD. That's a notebook.
Did you sell the notebook?
After the first CD, I've made a notebook, and I'm writing down most of my tunes, especially when other people want to play them, and when I'm playing together with others. But in normal musical life, we are playing without notes. Yeah. When I'm playing with Thomas and so on, we just we listen to each other. Or with José, of course, all of us can read notes and we can use them. But music,
you don't really need them when you play them.
This is direct. We listen to each other, and
because I saw that on your website, you also have fingering doing, like, you have a lot of music there, like fingering for the bagpipes. Like you have your own school there, sort of. So
this is most fingerings, and because people are playing bagpipes, are always asking the same thing.
Yeah.
Oh, I have to finger these instruments, these and these. So I put all this on my website for it's much easier for them to find. I should make more than this, and I also thought about to put more of my notes on website, but all this also takes time.
Yeah, it's very time consuming.
And I have a webmaster who helps me, but everything you do, because here, I should say, in this little workshop, the chief is doing everything. Mm-hmm. I'm sitting with my mails and with my data, and then working here and working there, because there is no one. I have no one to help. Yeah. And the days is just 24 hours.
Yeah, so exactly.
I do my best, but the time is never enough.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah, no. But it's because I really like it, because when I am learning new tunes, I always I'm classically trained, so for me it goes fast if I just look at the score sometimes. But of course I have dyslexia, so actually I cannot read notes very well, to be honest, because I just listen and then I play anyway. So you have some books, and you have a lot of albums that you made, and you recorded a lot of them actually.
Yeah.
So you've been
I think it's become 10.
Yeah. I think so.
All
too.
of them, yeah.
And it's also one who is very special with the pan flute, with Jose from Peru. So I wanted to know a little bit about Jose, the pan flute.
José.
Oh,
José. Ja, liksom, this is a little bit funny, because we met in a studio, and it was 94 or something like that. I don't remember. There was a guy who wanted to record traditional instruments.
Yeah.
He needed, because I think it was for the
Eurovision.
Eurovision song. He has made a song, and he needed someone who played pan flutes and bagpipes and so on. So they invited different musicians, and me and Jose too. Yeah. So we met on the West Coast. It was here. Yeah. So I played my things, he played his things, and he had precis come to Sweden. Yeah. And he just was looking in my instrument case and saw all these flutes and bagpipes, and I looked in his case, and we said, interesting instruments. We couldn't talk to each other because he had exactly come from Peru, South America, was just talking Spanish, and my Spanish is not very well. I can't. But so we were interested in each other without talking to each other. And 3-4 weeks later, he called me on telephone and asked if he could make a practicum. Practice here at me. And I had just bought this house here, and I was divorced, and everything was very complicated in my life. But I said, just come, okay, I can help you if you help me a little bit with my house, because this house was not in this shape like it is today now.
It looks very beautiful now.
Yeah, so he came to me, and then he stayed at me, and we worked in the factory. We worked in the workshop. I was teaching him how to drill and how to turn and so on. And then he made his instruments by himself, but we never thought about to play together, because I thought, okay, he's coming from Peru, I'm playing mostly Swedish music, can't work together. People, we are so stupid in our... But one night we were sitting here also in this room and tried to talk. At that time it was still quite difficult to talk to each other. And I think we took a glass of wine, and then I said to him, okay, we try to play together, but not El Contrapasa, because I can't hear this anymore longer. No, not El Contrapasa. He could hear this anymore. I think he took his pan flute and took my Nyckel harp, and we just tried with some notes, and then we noticed it was perfectly that it fits very good together. Such different instruments. Yeah, and then we tried one tune, and then one more, and then more, and after a while we play together. Yeah. And this is also so funny, because we could nearly not talk to each other, but we could play together, because music is international music. Everybody understands music, and he works with music exactly the same way as I do. listen to something and try to join, to play together. And he learned a lot of songs from me, and I learned some songs from him, and we played a little Swedish, little South American, mostly Swedish at that time. Nowadays a little bit more, now it has come more South American tunes too. And then after 2-3 years, no, it was, I think 2000, was some more years, 5-6 years, we recorded this Polska Popin. Yeah.
It's a really nice CD.
And we are still playing together.
Yeah.
This is more than 25 years ago.
Yeah, well, it's nice when you can
not bad.
Find friends for life due to Eurovision.
So no, this is really a very funny project. He's playing pan, flute, and kena, didgeridoo, different kinds of woodwind instruments, and I'm playing my instrument, and we have a very good sound together, and we love to play together, and it's very much soul, very much heart when you're playing. So even when you're staying on stage, we're looking deep each other in their eyes and then try to play very, very tight and listening and really playing together.
Yeah, because you have a lot of fans. Everyone loves Alban Fast in this area. They are crazy about you.
I love to hear it. I don't know if it is so, but
they do love you, and there is always a lot of people when you're playing somewhere. They are like coming like sheep around the herder. Like they really love to hear you play. And also when you go to the different areas here, I know that you go to Vänersborg sometimes, and I talk with people that are like, yeah, Alban Faust was here, you know, he was playing with bagpipes. And
I have lived here the most of parts of my life, and I love the music from not only Dalsland, but very much from Dalsland. And the music from Dalsland was very unknown before I took care of it, because people didn't think that it was worth anything. But I love the tunes, and I have not the problems with we call it by Swedish jantelager.
Yeah.
So if it's sounding good, it's good music, and I'm only playing music I love. I never played music just for money, and maybe because of this, I think people feel it. I'm doing this because I love to play, and I love to play these tunes and songs, and this is my kind of expression. Music is a kind of expression of feelings, and for me it's easier to show my feelings by playing music and by talking. Mm-hmm. So I make it the music way, as many others do.
Yeah, but it really transfers to the audience, because otherwise they wouldn't be so crazy about you. And I saw that you you have gotten some honorable prize by the community here and stuff like that, culture prizes and so on. So they really also want to show the appreciation, which is great, I think.
Yeah.
I wanted also to talk about one CD that actually your son produced, because he's a sound engineer, Zacharias. He made your CD. How is it working with your son?
Fantastic. He's very structured. I can be a little bit
free and creative.
Yeah, I'm not as. He's very structured. He's in Swedish he said ordentligt. He knows how to do, and I'm a little bit more creative. I have a lot of ideas, and my head is always turning around all the time. I'm not so good in. To keep everything in order. If you look at my my workshop, it's not so really clean, and so because it's not so important, because I want to make my things. And Zacharias is a little bit about the opposite of me, and to work together with him when he's a concert director or when he's making the recording stuff. So it's very good to see him, because he is. It works very good together.
Yeah.
My spontaneously.
Impulsive.
Yeah, impulsive, and even as I said, have ideas. Very often too much ideas, and very difficult to
analyze it.
But he knows how to do, and he's calm. He's very calm. He's not so. I really like to work together with him. It's not so often anymore because now he's living in Stockholm. But at that time, we made it a little bit more often. It works very, very good.
Yeah. So, I mean, you kind of want that kind of person as your sound engineer or sound support, because if you have an impulsive sound engineer, things can easily get out of control.
Yes. So,
and you would be a little bit nervous over them, you know, like,
because
what are they doing?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
I have the possibility. I may be. I can be a little bit more creative, and
it's nice. It's a big luxury. I'm a bit jealous. I also want to have a sound engineer in my family. I could really use it after failing so much with recordings. I wanted to ask you also about what advice do you have for listeners out there who are people working with music? Like, what have you learned during all your years and experience? Because you're very experienced, and I'm sure you learned from your mistakes a lot. So do you have any tips, like don'ts or do's, you know? How to survive on music 1.1?
Huh?
The easy question.
This is not the easiest question.
Because it is.
If you want to survive on music, first of all, you really must want to survive on music, and you have to accept that it can be very, very tough. Because to play, it's one thing to play good. It's not enough to earn money, because there are musicians who are not. Especially are not very good, but they can sell the personality of what they are doing, and they have a good manager, but they're maybe not especially good musician. And you have other musicians who are really, really great and who can't sell themselves. So this is always a problem. But I should say, do really what you want. Play this kind of music you like, and listen to your heart, and try to construct your life in a way that is cheap. Because when you're working with such a creative work like making music, you have to understand that you maybe never gonna earn a lot of money. You have to live on a little. So like I did with my I'm living in the countryside. Here the houses are very cheap. Yeah. I bought a very old house. I repaired it in 25 years by myself all the time, because I don't need much. I also don't need too much money. So this is, I think, very, very important, and try to make small steps. So
keep the expenses low.
Keep it low, and play. And my wife, who's also playing clarinet, and I also say to her, just first when we have played a tune maybe 100 times, then you maybe can play it. It's not enough with a 5 or 10 times. That's 10 times. You have just, because playing is the only thing which make you better. This is and it takes time. It takes time, and even if you're talented, if you're good, it takes time. Because I have the possibility. I can split my life between my workshop and the playing, and so I'm earning money in the workshops, because I can't live only on my playing, which I would prefer. If I have the possibilities, I should make instruments just as a hobby and playing first of all. But it's not possible. So I have to earn money on another way. Yeah. And this is a quite good possibility for me, as with the workshops and a little bit teaching, a little bit courses, workshops outside, and I have my own record company, and all these small things and small income makes that you can survive on playing. But playing music means you have to take your time. It's not the fastest way. And this, I think, especially for the young generation, sometimes a bit difficult to accept that playing music and playing good music needs a lot of time. And you have a lot of unpaid time. Yeah. So,
and what do you think about pricing? Because it's always difficult to charge money when you play a concert. So how do you think about charging money? How do you have like a lowest price, or do you have like an idea that if I have to play a concert that is 1 hour or 2 hours, I have to have at least this kind of money?
Yeah. Okay. First of all, I used to say, I want to get paid because of this is a kind of respect to this what I'm doing, because everyone, something which you're not paying for is also worthless in the mind of many people.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not, but the people nowadays in this capitalistic system we are living in, people are thinking, so if something is for nothing, it cannot be worth anything.
Yeah.
So I just say to them, I want to get paid. Then the amount is not always so important. I'm playing for a good thing, and people who really, really wants to hear me but don't have so much money, okay, for them playing for much less than a normal price. But I have a kind of standard, which I used to say if someone asking me. But I'm also playing funerals and weddings, sometimes birthdays and so on. Weddings is quite often.
Yeah, it's perfect instrument for it.
They want to have bagpipes and very often Amazing Grace and so on. And I used to play Amazing Grace. I want the double price because I can't hear this
tune anymore.
Song.
There are more songs.
And more. But they very often ask me, you have just to play one tune or two tunes. I say, this is the same price, or if I play one hour, because I have to be there, I have to be on place, and for me it doesn't matter if I just play 2 tunes or maybe 10.
Yeah.
So this is the same price.
Yeah.
This is for many people difficult to understand sometimes. So it's very variating what I get paid for my playings. But that I want to get played. This is, and this was not. So it was not at the beginning when I came to Sweden, because I lived quite well on my playings as long as I lived in Europe and on the continent. There you get paid for your playings. And I played very much middle-aged music, and I lived a very good life on it. It was easy and was young and no family and so on. Some weekends playing middle-aged music and was really, really easy living. And then I'm coming here to Sweden, and they didn't want to pay me for anything. You get a cup of tea or maybe
but you will get food.
Something like that. Yeah, and also with this argument, very often, you like well to play, and then you have the possibility to play, but you will not get paid for it. Yeah. And this made me quite angry in the beginning, and I would like to say I forced the people here to pay for. Even for folk music, even for this kind of music. And also the same, it's not so important that you give me a lot of money, but I want to get paid because I want to see that you respect it and me, what I'm doing. So it's still. Yeah. So,
but in Sweden, I think it got better. I don't know. I don't know. I get quite good paid when I'm here playing, I feel. But now when I'm in the Netherlands, they're very cheap with money. They never want to give me enough money. Like when I play some concerts, they only pay me 70 euros for one concert sometimes. And I think that is outrageous low. But then when I'm playing in Sweden, I often get 200 euros. That's like a standard price for a church concert or something like this. It depends a little bit where you are, or even more. And then I'm like, oh my God, because I think the tariff in Sweden, the lowest that the music organization is saying that you should charge is 180 euros.
You can.
That's the lowest they say.
It may happen. It may be, yeah.
But do you think it got better? Maybe I have you to thank you.
If I look at myself, yes, for me it's going better.
Yeah.
But it also makes, because now I've played this music for a very long time.
And establish
I'm a
yourself.
little bit more known, and not only in this area.
Yeah.
I have my marks and so on. So it has become easier. Yes.
But maybe I have you to thank for that you made the way, And now when I come as a young musician playing here, they learned to pay them properly.
Yeah, I think so. So now it's working better, and even for all the people who are playing together with me, it's the same. As I said, mostly I'm the leader in our groups, and then I said, okay, we're playing here and there, and it's always so that we will get an amount together. I always part it exactly between all the musicians, even when I have a little bit more of the organization work. But this doesn't matter for me. It is not so important. Okay. So because we are making the concert together, and then I had maybe a little bit more telephone talking like the others. But this, because mostly the people came to me and asking me, can you play with him or this group and so on.
But sometimes I feel that it's easier to charge more when you are playing with another person, because you won't sell your friend for cheap money, sort of. I don't know, I feel I'm responsible toward the other person then. Because if it's only me, I feel like, okay, I can do it cheaper. But then if I'm with someone else, I feel like, no, I cannot go down because it's not respectful for my friend or my colleague.
So it is. Yeah. Or because you have to always talk with your colleagues
between each other.
We can make a concert for this and that price. Is it okay for you or not? And so on. Now, especially as you say, as long as I'm solo myself, it's my problem. I get very bad paid.
Or very good paid.
But together with others, of course, you have to wants to have an amount.
Yeah. Okay. So now I have a question about tradition. What do you think about the future and that tradition? Like, because there is a lot of tradition in folk music, and how do you look on it, on tradition and folk music? Do you think it should be followed? I think we talked about it a little bit, but I just wanted to dig a little bit deeper into it. So, like, sometimes people will defend tradition with their lives, and what is your opinion about tradition and folk music?
Tradition and folk music, yeah.
Because in the instrument making, you are developing a lot, so there you are quite free and quite.
But even in music, as one of my teachers, who was very important for me in the first years, Einar Hansander, when I started to playing Swedish music, he used always to say, "Look how the old players played, or listen to them who they played. When you get these tunes to your own tunes, then you can make with them tunes what you want, but listen first." So, and I think this is very important. First, it's important to listen to the old ones who play, how did they play their tunes, and why did they play in this or that way, and then when you decide, but I would like to play this a little bit another way, this is okay, but don't do it the first day. First learn first, and then after a while you can, when you have really when you have the tunes inside yourself, you can make it a little bit in your way. But and one thing is very important, as long as you're playing traditional, this music I play very often is function music, because this music has to work together with the dancers. So I must always play in these kinds of that the dancers can dance to my music. So these I can't change. Say if I'm not
in the rhythm,
not with the rhythm, or if I'm playing too fast or too slow, they can't dance anymore. They have to. If I have my marks on the wrong places, they can't dance to this. So this is okay. Not when we play on concerts is another thing. On concert, I can even play polkas more slower or more faster than maybe the dancer wants to have. But and I love to play to dance. Because it is wonderful to play and see people are moving to your music. And this is also one of the biggest compliments. If people come to me afterwards and say, "Oh, it's so good to dance to your music," because I cannot dance myself. I'm very now. I can't dance really. I know about, but I'm no big dancer. Definitely not. But I love to play to dance, and I love to see the communication between the dancers and the players. And there were many. I became very happy that many have said that it works very good to play to my or to our music. Very often we are more than just me.
That's really, it's a good quality to be able, because that's the whole point of the music, if it's dance music, for example. I did some collaboration with a ballet dancer, actually. So, and she was dancing Arabic music and I was playing Arabic music, and it was super nice because after a while, it's kind of the dancer becomes like your ensemble. Like you can play with them like you do with your colleague, your fellow musicians. So we are at the end, and I wanted to give the opportunity for you to give an advice to one person in the music school, one person who is studying music in the conservatorium maybe, and then one person who is professional. Do you have any advice for someone in the music school? Someone who is here in the Melleruds Culture School, playing their instruments?
Follow your heart. This is be open and look what you have around you, and play and train and rehearsal as much as you can, because very very often it's try when you're coming home and maybe a little bit tired or don't really have the force to play your instrument, just try to start, because to get when you're playing the first tune, it's much more easy to play the second or the third tune. I notice very often when my wife is coming from school and she's very tired, but we want to play a little bit, and when I can just come her to play one tune together with me, it's very easy that they were sitting for 2 hours and playing music there.
It's a good trick to start.
Just to start. And play something you really love, you really like, because to play something which is not which you don't like, we will never put a lot of energy on these tunes. Yeah. So, and this is also important for the teacher. Try to find things which are interesting. Let's say, for example, scales. Very important. Everybody must learn scales, but nobody likes it. So try to find tunes where we have scales incorporated, where we have them in the tunes. Yeah. So it's more easy to play them also. Yeah. Because we want to play for the youngest. They want to play music directly. They don't want to go a lot of scales and harmonics, and they want to play music from the first day. And try to find something that is possible.
I think that's a really good advice. I used to use that trick on my cello students when they were younger. I was arranging a lot of rock music for them, because it was the only way to make them practice, because they were not interested in the traditional songs, like they were like, no, we want to play, what was it? It was the Final Countdown and stuff like that. So it works really well, actually, when they play their favorite song. And for a person in the conservatorium, so someone who is like decided to put the effort into music as a profession, or another school it doesn't have to be a conservatorium. It can also be instrument maker school. Or do you have an advice for people who are younger, but not as young as the music people, but they want to become professionals?
Trust on yourself. Just you have to believe in that what you're doing, and it's impossible to make anything without mistake. We are always making mistakes, even if we are very good in whatever kind we are making. But try to use your mistake, learn by your mistakes, and even in playing, there's no concert without any mistakes. You always have some small things which are not going as you think. But don't hesitate. Try to learn, play over a mistake. Try to continue, even if you're making a little bit, things are not going as you want. And same as before, it needs time. And it's good also when you have friends who are interested in the same things, music, and you can play together with, talk together with, and even this part of selling yourself as a musician. Good to have some friends and colleagues who have the same and even the same problem, so you can discuss how to do. Otherwise, just play as much as you can.
Yeah, that's a good advice.
Yeah,
and it's also very good to, like you said in the beginning, to trust yourself and your convictions, because I think it's during this period you get a lot of criticism from your teachers, and you're always criticized because they want you to develop. But sometimes it's easy to forget that you actually know how to do things good, and sometimes it's also easy to do what they want you to do because they are your teachers. But maybe actually there is more opportunities than you first see.
And then for the teachers, it's also very, very important. A very good teacher, he can praise his students also, not only looking at the mistakes, and because this is very important to get pushed by others. People are making music as all artists, and even other people who are working with other arts. They are very often very, very sensible and sensitive persons. They are very easy to break. Yeah. So we have to be careful with them, because of this. They are making arts because they have something emotional in themselves, which makes them or yourself possible to make art, playing music or making pictures or something like that. And I know it also by myself. Musicians are very often quite weak persons. Because they are not tough and they are not hard, because they are more easy to break. So and some more thing, music. As I said very often to my colleagues in the orchestra. Think about music is question of communication, but not a question of competition, that we always play against each other. We have to play together, and we have to finish with to say this one is better than the other, and so on. Everyone is good. Everybody is good in playing, and one makes it in this way, another makes it another way. But we have to finish to look at all these people. There are always people who are better and who can play faster or something like that. But so I don't think we have to think about it. I can just a little history. My father, he was playing violin when he was young. Then his mother went with him together on the concert to Yehudi Menuhin, one of the most famous violinists, just to inspire the son. What has happened? He finished to play violin after this. So, and this is always the problem with the other ones who are so much better. One man, people get inspired maybe and try. Okay, I also want to try to get better, and the other one gives up because he did understand. As good I will never be. So it is. There are always people who are better, more beautiful. Like I said, but find worth in what you're doing by yourself, and find your own style also. When I was playing my music, there were so many people that say, you should not do this that way or not that way. I can remember first time I was on the Nyckel harp course workshop in Falun in 1989. I come to Sweden. I have to try to play Nyckel harp, so it has to be done. And I came to this workshop in Falun, and then we should play a little bit for our teacher. And I could play maybe 5-6 notes, and he just said to me, "So we don't play here." So it was directly from the beginning. This is not our style, so you should not play. And this was
horrible.
Yeah, it was horrible. It was really horrible. And also, we don't play with these bows on these Nyckel harps because these bows are only used on the older Nyckel harps, and so on and so on. So you shouldn't do it. Find your own style. Don't listen too much on the others, because there are always people who want to know it better and want to show you the way, but listen to your own heart and
I think that's really a nice, inspiring thought. Difficult to do, but it's very, I think everyone has always this kind of meeting at some point where they have to stand against someone criticizing everything they do and saying that it's wrong. And I've been criticized for one thing, and then in the next village I got praised for the same thing. So it's some people will like it, some people will not, and I think it's about finding your audience. And if you play for people who likes what you do, you will have good experience. And if you play for people who are not your audience, for example, for me, it would be like, I don't think I'm the cellist for Carnegie Hall, for example. I don't think I'm that kind of cellist. But for other venues, a theater, for example, I'm perfect for that kind of audience, because it's a different kind of audience. It's like I wouldn't go to a growling heavy metal audience and try to sell a children lullaby, that would be stupid, No. So you have to find the audience who likes new music. Yeah. But then for a professional colleague, what would you say for them?
Yeah, what should I say? Try to listen even to other colleagues. Maybe once to find your own style, but at the same time try to stay open for other kinds of musicians, colleagues. How do they playing, and how do they are making? And then it's the same as also for the youngest one. Play. You have never finished. First, now you're down in the earth. You finish your life, and it's this, I've heard very often people say to me, "Alban, you have played so many years. You can well play bagpipe or Nyckel harp." As I say, yes, okay, you can play so much. But I've still a lot of learned, and it will never stop. This is always continuing. And this is to develop yourself. Finish. Don't stop to develop yourself. Always try to get a new view, or maybe to get a little bit better. Listen to things. I have little tunes. It's with 16 measures, or maybe it's a little podcast. I've played for 10 years, the same tunes, and I still can make it better.
Yeah.
Better in my ears. Maybe not for another one, but
it reminds me of there's a famous cellist called Pablo Casals.
Yeah.
And he has this quote. Was a journalist who asked him why he still practices 4 or 6 hours a day, and he said, "Because I think I'm making progress."
Yeah. So,
and he was 80 years old, so you can always develop the same thing. And I think also staying curious and still practicing even when you're getting older is very essential to stay alive, you know, to don't turn into old dusty book.
I had one, the oldest one in our orchestra. He was 90, and I has become 91.
Wow, that's impressive.
And he says to me, "This is you, and this orchestra is keeping me alive."
Yeah.
He's played with us. He's maybe not the best as violin in our group, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
He fits well. It's okay. And he loves to play, and he's always so happy. And when it's coming to our rehearsals and I'm playing, so this is enough. And even about practicing, you have always, if you play music, just to keep the status quo where you are.
Yeah.
But only for this you have to practice.
Yeah.
And if you want to get a little bit longer, you have to practice anymore.
Yeah, even more.
And this is, and I think many younger people they have because everything has to go so fast today. We are living in a time everything is going very, very fast and quick. And playing music is the opposite. For this, go slowly. Yeah, it needs time, and it needs a lot of time. And I think many and not all people can stand it.
Yeah.
For them, it has to go quick.
Yeah.
And
That's it's not possible with playing an instrument, I think. Then you have to play the CD player or Spotify.
Yeah, Spotify for some maybe a little bit conclusion about Spotify. Here for some days I read about the chief from Spotify. He's earning for about 1 million a day.
Yeah.
For this I have to work about 10 years.
Yeah.
And I have my songs, also my tunes also on Spotify. And for me to sell one CD, you know it by yourself. One CD for these people have to listen 400 or something like that hours on my tunes on Spotify. Yeah. I've not earned 1 krone on Spotify, and I have my tunes there. So this is so if you want to earn money, don't play music. Be chief of Spotify or make something other things. But playing music means you need a lot of time, but take your time because there's nothing which is as wonderful as to play and to play together. Yeah. Because if you have good colleagues or friends to play together, this is wonderful. It's the most wonderful thing of communication, to play together and see and hear how 2 or more instruments fit to each other and find each other. So this is really wonderful.
Yeah, and I don't think I would trade being head of Spotify to being a cellist anymore.
No. It's just I read about it for the time ago.
Well, thank you so much, Alban, for taking time to be mastering music. It's been a really, really lovely afternoon for me. I learned a lot, and I feel like starting playing the Nyckel harp almost. How was it for you?
What?
How was it for you?
Yeah, it was also interesting. I had difficulties with my English, but I tried as best I could. And I'm glad that you were so interested in my music and my instruments. And this was not a normal short interview like the most journalists like to have. So thank you for these too.
Yes. And if we want to follow you, we can go to your website, albanfaust.se. Because it's a Swedish website. Yeah. And you also said we can find it on Spotify, and you have Facebook as well.
Yeah, I'm not there so very often. I'm not so good in this social media.
No,
I'm a little bit not so interested.
You don't have time for that.
But I have Facebook, and you can find me there.
And where will we see you and hear you next time? Do you have something coming up for the summer? Because I know you play a lot in the summer. I know the next thing is we will play with our orchestra in Göteborg på Allegården the 20th of March. Mm-hmm. There will be an evening with concert and playing to dance. Yeah.
So Göteborg, the 20th of March. And then we have some small concerts here around, and in autumn October or November, I will have a tournée in Germany. Now we have, I think, 9 concerts still today. Maybe it will become more. You find them on my website. Together with my lovely wife on clarinets, and a friend of mine is playing hurdy-gurdy and the double bass.
Yeah.
And I play my instrument, and we play Swedish concerts with the Swedish music, both dance music and even some songs, and but very Swedish evenings in Germany.
Then we are looking forward to seeing and hearing you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oh.